Why is this? Test, testing. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Perfect. Confusing on that. Thank you all for viewing tonight's Planning Commission meeting. I'd like to call this meeting to order at the City of Clearlake Chambers on May 10th, 2022. As a reminder, if you are on our Zoom meeting as a participant, please put yourself on mute unless you are speaking. We are currently live streaming this meeting on the city's YouTube channel and the Lake County PEG TV live stream YouTube channel. To begin, can I please have roll call?
Commissioner Stewart,
Here.
Commissioner Williams,
Here.
Commissioner McCarrick,
Here.
Vice Chair Coker,
Here.
Chair Wilson.
Here. For those present, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Are there any changes to the agenda?
No, there is not.
Thank you. This is the time for any member of the public to address the Planning Commission on any matter not on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the city. The Brown Act, with limited exceptions, does not allow the commission or staff to discuss issues brought forth under public comment. The commission cannot take action on non-agenda items. Concerns may be referred to staff or placed on the next available agenda. Please note that comments from the public will also be taken on each agenda item. Comments shall be limited to 3 minutes per person. Any public comments in the chambers by phone or via Zoom? Do we have anybody?
There are none.
Thank you. We will now start with item number 1. This is the conditional use permit application CUP 2022-01 and corresponding environmental assessment categorical exemption CE 2022-05 to develop and operate a gas station with convenience store with on-site sales of alcohol, office space, fast food restaurant, and a drive-through car wash located at 15895 Dam Road, formerly 15881 in Clearlake, California, further described as assessor parcel number 010-043-53-000. May we have the staff report?
Yes, you may. Let me do screen share real quick and pull up the PowerPoint. Hey, Justin, can you let me do screen share, please? So good evening, everybody. So we're here today to kind of do a recap of what continued from the April 26th Planning Commission meeting for the gas station, drive-through, and fast food restaurant located at 15895 Dam Road, further described as assessor parcel number 010-043-53. So the site plan indicated above, the one that's highlighted in green is the project parcel itself. The one to the right is future project is part of the Phase 2 Starbucks development that was previously analyzed and approved. The parcel to the south of that is Starbucks, known as Phase 1. Then you have Carl's Jr. to the bottom right-hand corner. So during the previous Planning Commission hearing on April 26th, there was traffic concerns. So during that time, we continued the hearing and renoticed it. And then staff met internally, met with the city engineer, Dave Swartz, who is here tonight to help address questions, and the applicant itself. So the overall outcome to help mitigate these concerns is we widened, the driveway is approximately 31.4 feet in width. It wasn't noted on the previous site plan, but it's been already approved at that, and that's the correct width. Then the stacking right in here, I'll refer to our city engineer, Dave Swartz, to discuss the roundabout and the restriping and realignment of the left turn lane to allow for more queuing and stacking to enter into the project parcel. Mr. Swartz.
Thank you, Mark. Commissioners, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Before you haven't been here. I think I've been here since 2019, so it's nice to see you all. I think that's a good thing, actually. Yeah, when this was presented to us, and I'm sorry I didn't make the previous Planning Commission meeting, I had an obligation I had to attend. So at any rate, after that Planning Commission meeting and hearing some of the concerns and understanding where those concerns come from, we took another look at the project. And originally we had anticipated, or the older existing site plans of that driveway, as Mark had mentioned, we thought that driveway was 24 feet wide, but we found out later it was built to 31 feet. So we were very pleased about that. One of the things that we felt was a reasonable solution was to provide some restriping and requeuing out on Dam Road extension itself. So it's you can see where the, oh, thanks, Mark, because I don't think this is showing up. So you can see where the Mark's got his red arrows right there, but if you can move it more towards the driveway, there's now what you see is you see a left-hand turn pocket that goes directly into the driveway. Before, if you look on like an aerial photo, if you were to overlay this, that queuing of that driveway actually goes into a driveway that is planned just north of this. So that's actually going to become parking now. So pulling that striping back will allow a few cars to queue in that vicinity and make a nice left-hand turn pocket. And then also just a couple of other notes on the project site that has evolved over time with the site plan is the driveway going into the development itself. Keep going, Mark, a little bit to the left. Let me see if I can point here. Right. Yeah, you can't see this pointer. Oh, thanks. Right here. If you take a look at the site plan, that driveway there is 58 feet 3 inches wide. That's a nice wide driveway. Obviously, the purpose of the width of that driveway is to allow for the fuel trucks to get in and out of the site, but it also serves to enhance and keep traffic flow much easier to navigate. And then one other thing that has changed over the site planning process is up in here with this phase 2 development Mark had mentioned, there's a 24-foot driveway that goes in between these developments here. So there again, it just kind of allows traffic to help navigate itself in throughout the site. And then taking a look at the traffic study that was done for phase 1 and phase 2 of Starbucks. When you look at the traffic study and the data, there are some queuing matters that come to light, although I'll talk in the older terms, we call it level of service. The queuing drops to a level of service D, I think, which is actually still acceptable per city code. But once you introduce the roundabout into the traffic analyses, the level of service for both of the phase 1 and phase 2 project jumps back up into a level of service A/B. Okay, so by conjecture, if you were to add this project, this project was not considered in the traffic study. I want to be clear about that. But by conjecture, you can understand that with that roundabout being there, that this will not bring this down below level of service D, which would be acceptable by the city. This is not a very large gas station. a lot of ARCOs you might see, handle hundreds of cars of traffic. This is a pretty small site and fairly benign. So with that, I would entertain any questions you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any questions of staff at this time. Vice Chair Coker,
I don't have any questions at all.
Commissioner McCarrick,
I want to thank the city engineer for being here. It's definitely was a piece of the puzzle that we were looking for last time. And this is really helpful to look at. I think the parking area, I don't remember being this much parking on the last one. And so that's really helpful. Yeah, thank you. Thank you for helping kind of close that loop in terms of understanding.
Mark, Senior Planner, do you have a comment?
Yes, thank you. I'd like to provide, on top of the additional information, our city engineer provided some more clarification on the parking, because I remember that was brought up as well during the April 26th Planning Commission. So according to section 18-20.090 of our city municipal code, the applicant shall supply a minimum of one space for 250 square feet for commercial retail structures that are less than 2,000 square feet in size, and a minimum of one space per 200 square feet for gas stations that are associated with a convenience store. So in total, the applicant has supplied a minimum of 28 parking spaces, exceeding the minimum requirement of 22, and the breakdown is as follows. So you have the 15 parking spaces that are in front of the convenience store and commercial retail, and 3 of which will be equipped with EV charging stations. Then there's also one ADA that is as part of that. Then in addition to that, there's 12 parking spaces that are under the covered gas canopy. So I just wanted to make a little more clarification on that, the parking has met the requirements. Then in addition to the parking, there's a stacking requirement of 114 feet for the drive-through car wash. And the applicant provided approximately 121.9 feet of stacking, so they're exceeding the minimum requirement. So essentially, based on staff review, including, working with our city engineer and reviewing everything, that staff believes the number of proposed parking spaces will adequately support the operation. Thank you.
Super. Thank you for that additional comment. I'll continue asking our commissioners for any other comments or questions for staff. Commissioner Stewart.
Thank you. I appreciate the engineer looking this over. My main areas of concern regarding this project were on Dam Road extension for patrons entering the project. Not only the new project, but the existing Starbucks and Carl's Jr. and the future development. And I do like the new turn-in lane pocket there northbound on Dam Road extension. The little diagram that I saw previously showed 3 cars in there. Are you thinking that's pretty much going to be the limit of queuing up there without blocking northbound traffic?
I think so. I think about 3 cars.
Yeah. I think that under the circumstances, that's probably really the best we can do at this point with the physical layout of everything. Ideally, in my opinion, if the driveway to the project were actually located further north, where the proposed future development is, and the building there perhaps rotated around or something, I think conceivably it could be better. But I think we've got a good enough flow through the whole thing now that, we've got a stacking for 3 there. And so, yeah, I think my concerns are alleviated with this, and I'll be good to go with it. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Stewart. Commissioner Williams.
I have no additional questions, but I did want to thank staff and our engineer for addressing all of the questions that we had. Knowing that driveway is wider and having that turn-in lane definitely helps answer a lot of the questions. So thank you.
Thank you. My comments to staff on this item are, again, thank you, Mr. City Engineer, for coming tonight. And to confirm, this development was not contemplated in the last traffic study.
That's correct. This was not part of the special traffic study that we had asked for from the, I think it was FE Monterey Company to do the Starbucks phase 1 and phase 2, correct?
And we expect with this development for our traffic to become worse to the D level, which is still acceptable to state standards. And when the traffic roundabout comes in, it would go back up to AB level.
Correct.
And when is that traffic circle contemplated for building and completion?
Currently, we are completing the environmental review process now. I believe we have secured the funding for the planning, design, and engineer plans for the roundabout. I think that will be in design sometime in 2023, and I would anticipate, I don't have the information in front of me, so I'm just going to take a while, just kind of a guess at it. I think you probably see construction in 2024.
Thank you. I will open the public hearing on this matter. Are there any public comments on this agenda item? We have a timer for anybody speaking. Is there anyone in the chambers who wishes to speak on this item? Is there anybody on Zoom or on the phone?
There is one hand on Zoom.
Thank you. Please speak. Please announce yourself and speak on Zoom.
Hi, this is Deb Sally. I'm a resident of Clearlake, and I'm also the chair of the.
Go ahead, Deb Sally, and speak.
You guys can't hear me?
You might be muted on your
Yeah.
end.
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Can you hear me now? Oh, can't hear me. Ah.
It appears she may be trying to log back in because it looks like she stepped off in the meeting, then maybe trying to log back in to comment.
I'll invite her back. I'll go back around to the commissioners and then just check back in with the Zoom community. I'll now ask each commissioner if there are any further comments for deliberation at this time. Vice Chair Coker.
No, I have nothing.
Thank you. Commissioner McCarrick.
I have no comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Stewart.
No comments.
Thank you. Commissioner Williams.
No additional comments.
Thank you. I have no further comments. Is anybody on the Zoom that might be back in?
There are no hands raised on the Zoom.
So I will close the public hearing on this item now, and I will entertain a motion from any commissioner.
I make a motion that the Planning Commission adopt Resolution PC 2022-08. A resolution of the Planning Commission of the City of Clearlake recommending approval of conditional use permit application CUP 2022-01 and corresponding environmental assessment categorical exemption CE 2022-05 to develop and operate a gas station, convenience store, office space with on-site sales of alcohol, fast food restaurant, and drive-through car wash located at 15895 Dam Road, formerly 15881, Clear Lake, California, further described as assessor parcel number 010-043-53000.
A second.
Thank you. I have a motion by Commissioner Stewart and I have a second by Commissioner McCarrick. I have a roll call vote.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart,
Aye.
Commissioner McCarrick,
Aye.
Vice Chair Coker,
Aye.
Chair Wilson.
Aye. The motion passes. We'll now move to item number 2, conditional use permit applications, CUP 2021-28 through CUP 2021-32. Commissioner McCarrick is leaving the conversation.
Um, Chair Wilson, before Commissioner McCarrick left the room, we should announce why she left the room.
There's
She
a
should-
conflict of interest. Does it need to be more specific than that?
sh-
Just wanted to go to that room. I am recusing myself because I am an interested party in this matter.
Thank you, Commissioner McCarrick. So we will invite the staff to proceed with the staff report.
Hang on 1 second and I will pull up the PowerPoint. Okay, so I'm going to turn over the portion of the PowerPoint will be presented by Michael Taylor, our assistant planner, and then I will chime in when he needs assistance and to explain the environmental aspect of it.
Thank you.
So Mr. Taylor, go ahead.
Thank you, Planning Commissioners and public audience. This is for Planning Commission consideration for Clearlake's Harvest Company LLC, which is asking consideration for conditional use permit application CUP 2021-28 through CUP 2022-31. Also development agreement DA 2022-01, adoption of IS 2021-05. The property is currently zoned industrial and is located in the CB Commercial Cannabis District. Next slide. The project is approximately located in the southeast or I'm sorry, why is this thing doing that? Northeast quadrant of the city of Clearlake off of Ogling Canyon Road. It's approximately 12.95 acres. Next slide, please. So this is the project here, which is approximately 12.95 acres. It stretches north up to what is the existing storage facility and south down to the property of the city of Clearlake and west over to, can't even read that, but that is 2150 Ogling Canyon Road and then 2340 Ogling Canyon Road. Access to the site would be off Ogling Canyon and via a driveway, which winds its way past the storage facility through a vegetated area and then opening up into the project site. So the project site is approximately in this area here, down to this area, over to here, over to here. There's an existing, couple of existing structures on the site, which is currently a mobile home, which is located here, and garage located here. Next slide, please. So the applicants are asking for your consideration primarily for phase 1. Phase 2 is going to be considered at a later date, either through a modification of the use permit, or it would be through development agreement. So phase 1 is for cultivation. They're considering 10,000 square feet of cultivation within approximately a 10,200 square foot greenhouse. Also a nursery where they would be doing propagation, self-propagation, a 40 by 60 foot building, which would be for the processing and retail activities. The retail activities would be limited to delivery only. There will be some grading on the property, primarily for the structures. They'll be improving the roadways and parking and providing a parking lot for the employees. They're also proposing a water storage tank area and fire tank area. It's approximately two tanks for the water storage, which are about 5,000 gallons each. A hammerhead turnaround to accommodate fire vehicles. And during phase 1, there would only be 3 employees. Phase 2, they're proposing to include an additional 5,000 square foot of cannabis cultivation and 2,500 square cannabis cultivation. They're both going to be in 2 separate greenhouses. The first would be 6,500 square feet, the second 3,000 square feet, and then total employees with phase 2 at 6. Next slide, please. This is and north is pointed to your right. So you can imagine that Ogden Canyon Road is on the right side. So this is an image of generally the area that's proposed to be primarily disturbed with grading and the new structures. Next slide. So the 2 buildings here are the proposed greenhouses that would house, they're 10,200 square feet total, that would house a 10,000 square foot of cultivation. The processing and retail, again, as I mentioned, retail is only delivery only, would be housed in this new structure here, which is 40 by 60. This location here are where the water tanks would be proposed, and the actual existing well is located right about there, I believe. Is that correct? Let me make sure. Yeah, right about that location. The hammerhead is located here. This is all proposed to be improved with, I believe it's asphalt. And then the remainder of the drive would be gravel. The hammerhead is proposed here. The nursery is proposed to be in the existing garage here, which they don't plan to do any additional disturbance around in this area for the nursery. And this building right here is the existing mobile home, which in the future, I believe they will be using for offices. Next slide. So this is the potential project build out. If they were to go through a modification of the use permit and or a development agreement, be a total of 17,500 square feet in 3 greenhouses, totaling 19,700 square feet. The nursery, which was presented earlier, the 40 by 60 processing building, water tanks, emergency vehicle turnaround, improved roadways, parking, and 6 employees. Next slide. And Mark Roberts, our senior planner, will now present the environmental analysis.
Thank you, Mike. So real quick, why it's on my mind, there's 2 corrections on the staff report I just want to note. So on page 1, where it said subject, and it says mitigated negative declaration CEQA IS 2021-02, it actually should be 2021-05. And then on page 8 of the staff report under motions, it should be CUP 2021-28 through CUP 2021-32. Just to make a clarification on that. But for the moving on to the environmental analysis, so staff prepared an environmental analysis, initial study in accordance with the California Environmental Quality Act guidelines. So upon completion of the CEQA document and circulating it to various state and local agencies for their review, including the general public, everybody within 600 feet was sent a NOI, which is also known as a notice of intent, informing them that the city is proposing to adopt a mitigated negative declaration. So all potential impacts have been reduced to less than significant levels with the incorporated mitigation measures. So the first, a notice of intent, it was published in the local paper. It was sent to the surrounding parcel owners within 600 feet. And the mailing address is taken from the Lake County Assessor's database. So then it was circulated to various federal, state, and local agencies for review, such as, the California Bureau of Cannabis Control. We have environmental health, the PD, Public Works, and various other agencies as well. So the commenting period for the meeting, the commenting period for the two separate periods. So the first one was October 22nd, 2021 to November 26th, 2021. Then amended NOI was sent out. And the second amended NOI wasn't anything that changed with the project. It was just for project assignment numbers changed. So we wanted to send out just to be clear that there wasn't anything changing with the project, but it had the corresponding project numbers associated with the NOI. So the agency and public comments. So the city did not receive any public comment on the environmental document, nor do we receive written formal requests to be added if you're outside the 600 foot boundary. But we did get comments from the California Historical Resource Information System, which is also known as CRIS, and that's Sonoma State. And they sent their generic comments as they always do. Then the California Department of Transportation, just their basic generic comments, nothing that was adverse. Then we have Lake County Environmental Health Department, which is basically just saying they need to pass their septic and well inspections, and it wasn't anything that was outstanding or of concern, but they're they've incorporated into the conditions of approval or mitigation measures. The Central Valley Water Quality Control Board, the same thing, their generic responses. So one of the main things we received was the California State Department of Cannabis Control, also known as the DDDC. So they sent, anytime they comment, they usually do a generic template comment or how it could be improved, the initial study, if you could do this, it could be better if it's done this. So we responded with them, with our template of how everything's going to be mitigated, or it's already been incorporated as a mitigation measure or condition of approval to help address their comments. So the initial study was fairly substantial. So the initial study it was analyzed for the applicant to have the 27,500 square feet of cultivation area. However, the applicant, due to the drought concerns, water concerns, they have reduced that significantly. So out of the 10,200 square feet in greenhouses, they're going to have 10,000 square feet of approximately 10,000 square feet of cultivation area. The applicant is here tonight. So for regarding questions like that or the operations, I would refer questions to him or myself, and I'll do the best I can to analyze it. So one of the bigger concerns, as we all know, is the water concerns. The applicant had a report of findings, hydrology analysis. It was done by Chico Environmental, and they are out of Chico, California, and it was dated August 4th, 2021. So I'll summarize the findings and the conclusions with the recommendations, but it's also included in the staff report packet as one of the attachments. So essentially it says 2250 Ogland Canyon Road has approximately 12.95 acres of surface land that is located over loosely consolidated gravel deposits in the Burns Valley area. So then it also states that the 2019 SGMA report rates Burns Valley as a low priority groundwater basin. Current groundwater data suggests that the Burns Valley groundwater basin fully recharges annually. Then it also goes into, so the expected annual water use for the cannabis cultivation project would be approximately 511,400 gallons. But keep in mind, this is at the full build out of 27,000 or the 17,500 square foot. So they cut that in half, which is essentially cutting the water usage by one third to approximately 2/3, 1 to 2/3. So it says the expected annual water use for the cannabis cultivation project would be, 511,400 gallons per year, including the cultivation. That includes the processing and the nursery. And their well yields about 30 gallons a minute, approximately. So the summary of the report essentially says there are no additional impacts on the Burns Valley Basin from the project, nor the impacts of the water use of this project to the surrounding area. So in conclusion, according to the report, it is Chico's environmental opinion that the completed well is sufficient to yield to irrigate 17,500 square foot cannabis at 2250 Ogland Canyon Road. Additionally, it appears that the overlaying property possesses a significant quantity of groundwater for seasonal irrigation that would not adversely overdraft the Burns Valley groundwater basin, affect downgrading groundwater users or other users in the vicinity. And that's at full build out at 17,500. But like I previously mentioned, it's been reduced significantly. The other ones in there, you have your generic aesthetics, your lighting, your, all lighting needs to be directed downwards. There's the standard mitigation measures that you've seen for various projects that have been incorporated into the initial study. So this is just a summary, kind of like what I just kind of recapped on, that the well yields approximately 30 gallons a minute. So it's annually, it's 15,768,000 gallons per year. And, it's approximately 511,000 gallons at full build out. So for staff recommends, staff recommends the planning commission take the following actions. Approve resolution PC 2022-10, approving use permit CUP 2021-28 through CUP 2021-32 to allow a commercial cannabis facility to be developed and operated at 2250 Ogland Canyon Road with the conditions of approval as attached. Then also adopt resolution PC 2022-11, recommending approval of the mitigated negative declaration and development agreement to the city council. Mike and I are here to answer any questions or concerns you may have, and the applicant in here as well. And that concludes my presentation. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts and Mr. Taylor. I will now ask each commissioner if there are any questions of staff at this time. Vice Chair Coker.
Yes, I have, my main concern is the water. Is this basin, is it going to affect the people on Old Highway 53? Because how many grows are out in that area right now? And we're in their, second, third year of a drought? There's not much water there. And they had grows up in High Valley Ranch at the houses were running, their wells were running dry, and I don't want to see that going here. So my main concern is the water.
Do you have a specific question about the water or generally?
Just in general, I just don't want the homeowners to have their wells run dry.
Thank you. Commissioner Stewart.
I have no questions or comments for staff, but I do have questions or comments for later in the input section.
Commissioner Williams.
I do have a question. A couple of different times throughout the packet, it states 20 employees and 3 managers. But tonight we're being told 3 employees in phase 1 with 6 in phase 2, and projected parking spaces of 11. So where is the difference of the 20 employees and 3 managers to now looks like 9 employees and no mention of managers? Was one of the things that I noted, and I have some comments for later as well.
I'd like to invite the applicant up if he has some clarity for the staffing. And if you'd like to speak to the water reduction plan that you changed also. Please identify yourself.
I am Chris Gretzinger with Clearlake Harvest Company. Thank you, Chair Wilson, Vice Chair Coker, Commissioner Williams, and Commissioner Stewart. Glad to be here with everyone today, and happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Commissioner Williams had questions about the staff.
So the first phase, there will be a manager temporarily, not full-time on site, which will probably be myself. And then more than likely 2, but potentially 3 employees. Just trying to give myself some room. But
We did see a comment about 20 somewhere in the documentation.
the
So is
original
that
20, I
old?
don't recall what that number was based off of. Even it could be a seasonal original thought, but I don't think so.
So these numbers that we're seeing now of the 3 employees, which includes a manager, and then 6 for phase 2, you're not seeing any fluctuation
I
to
don't
that.
anticipate any additional above and beyond that at this time.
All right, thank you.
This is an opportunity also for you to address the water concerns that were generally alluded to by Commissioner Coker.
And I share the same concerns. That's one of the reasons why we reduced our canopy to 10,000 square feet at this time. And the total number of gallons is based, I think, off of 26 gallons per square foot. I could be off by 1 or 2, but I think that's a little conservative. I think it's probably going to be closer to 20. That's what I'm shooting for. But so even, dropping it down to 10,000 square feet, drops it from 455,000 to 260,000. The processing, that number is based off of just general processing. So in cannabis, it's the primary use of water in our processing facility is probably going to be for restroom breaks, washing hands. You don't wash any equipment with water. It's not soluble with the oils. I think that number is fairly high, but the exact number, I don't know. Comparable maybe to a 3 or 4 person building, regular restroom use.
So you reduced your water use projections by about half. Is that what I'm hearing?
Close to it. Yeah, I think so. I think that's fairly reasonable.
And is that sustainable in your business model if we continue in drought for 3 more years and you wanted to continue in your business?
Yes.
That's a yes. Thank you. Is there anything else you'd like to share before we let you sit down again? You're welcome to come back up again, but.
Not at this time. Thank you.
And does any other commissioner have a question for the applicant right now? Thank you. You may be seated.
Thank you.
I will open public hearing on this matter. Are there any public comments on this agenda item? Is there anyone in the chambers that wishes to speak on this item? Thank you. Please approach the podium, speak your name, and we will have everything.
Chair
timed.
Wilson, are we timing people?
Yes, please.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Vicki Crystal, and I live in the Burns Valley Aquifer in Clearlake. Approximately 10 years ago, we noticed our well water was diminishing, so we put a 10,500 gallon in the ground cistern to get us through the summer and continue to grow our own vegetables. We allowed our lawn to die and planted drought-resistant bulbs and other plants that need very little water. We lost most of our fruit trees over the years due to diminishing water. Our entire source of water for the area is from the wells, and the people in our neighborhood, a minimum of 40 residents, are concerned as we all live on wells. A few months ago, I sent a survey out by email and went house to house with that survey, and roughly 58% of the surveys returned And I want you to hear that. 58% of return surveys that had been having water shortages and or loss of pressure. Most said had been during the summer months and the fall months. Some said they started noticing the water loss after the vineyards on the west side of Highway 53 was planted. Many have had to put in secondary cisterns, as well as giving up gardens and lawns. Nearly all mentioned their own ways of conserving water due to concerns of the many cannabis grows in our area, legal or illegal. Last week, a neighbor, Jamie Felden, sent me an email saying, our well has gone dry a couple times since we bought our property on Old Highway 53. And I believe it was within the last 2 years that they purchased that property. We've called out several well specialists who said lately we have some issues in the area referred to as the orchard. On Pond Road, our property is on an aquifer, and while it has not run dry, it has been an issue we are carefully managing and aware is happening in our area. And that was a quote from Jamie. My issue with the new grows in the city and the county is not only in my backyard, that's not even an issue for me, but the overall climate crisis that is going on in the state of California and Lake County. And I agree with Supervisor Sabatier that we should consider a moratorium in Lake County on any kind of new ag or cannabis grows until, as a people in the city and Lake County, have to have a handle on the climate crisis. It has no one has truly addressed the cumulative effect of the vineyards, the cannabis, the drought, etc. And it appears to me that it is not just a drought,
Thank you.
but after
Please wrap
20
up your
years
comments.
of this and getting worse, a shift in the way we live on this planet is necessary. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name is David Goolsby. I also live in the Burns Valley Aquifer. I wanted to point out that the applicant's initial study and hydrology report fails to even mention the cumulative effects of this project on hydrology and water, much less actually address them in the mandatory findings of significance section required by CEQA. The definition of cumulative effects is, quote, the change in the environment which results from the incremental impact of the project when added to other closely related past, present, and reasonably foreseeable probable future impacts. That does not mean that just because the applicant believes that their well is adequate to provide enough water for their project, that it can be considered in isolation. Beyond that, a 1.5 hour well test is not a reliable method to determine what the project well can supply over that the project well can supply over 500,000 gallons of water over the growing season. Nor does it mean that the other 5 approved cannabis grows so far, the potential for other cannabis farms in the area and existing vineyards and other ag does not have to be accounted for. It does not mean that the adjacent neighborhood residents' concerns can be ignored, or the recent survey conducted by residents that confirmed that almost 60% of the existing domestic wells are already experiencing water shortages and have been since well before the current drought. Nor does it mean that since there is almost no current data on the sustainability of the Burns Valley Basin aquifer, that we should accept outdated 1960 data as a baseline for what is happening today. No consideration for the current drought or the impact of climate chaos on future weather patterns and rainfall has been acknowledged. the only Lake County Watershed Protection District monitoring well in the basin is not even close to adequate. Yet the most recent well reading indicates that the water level is the lowest it's been in 45 years. Local residents in conversation with the Lake County Watershed Protection District agreed that 8 to 10 additional wells will be monitoring
Please wrap up
starting
your
this
comments.
fall. Let me just add this one thing and I'll let it go. In a recent hydrology memorandum for a nearby proposed grow, it was suggested that this cannabis grows zoning is, if fully developed, we add in the other existing ag already sucking water from the basin and include a minimal water usage from existing domestic wells, that over half, that's about 730 acre feet or almost 238 million gallons of the 1,400 acre feet of available water storage capacity of the aquifer will be drawn out during the growing season.
Sir, please wrap up. Thank you.
Chair Wilson and commissioners, staff. My name is Dave Hughes and I also live in Burns Valley. I wanted to hand out a few maps if I could, and hopefully that can't be used too much against my time. I want to make sure you understand.
Is this your only handout?
No.
Please do your handouts and then we'll start the timer.
I'm not going to hand this out. This is a list of the 40 property owners that we're here speaking on behalf of. I can give it to you if you want.
You can start the timer now.
Okay. I want you to know that we came today from an appeal hearing for a grow at 2050 Ogulin Canyon Road in the county. And we successfully appealed the use permit that was granted on a 4-to-1 vote by the Board of Supervisors. One of the issues was the water. That project obviously uses a lot more water than this will. I actually sent an email earlier today to Mark Roberts asking for a continuance because we would like to have the opportunity for our hydrogeologists to go a little further into their report, which we think is short, the cumulative impact especially. It doesn't, he faulted some other reports that he thought were not very, well, I won't get into that. Anyway, we'd like to have him the opportunity to review this, maybe get with the applicant. I mean, I'd be happy to sit down. I'm not trying to shut down this project. I see that they've cut down what they're going to grow, but we are concerned about the water in the Burns Valley Basin. It is recharged with rainwater. Most of the wells in Burns Valley are in the alluvium aquifer, which is the upper aquifer. Most of the ag wells go deeper, and we feel that there's some connection between our aquifer and that aquifer. I mean, if the rainwater hits the soil and then seeps down into our aquifer and then goes down into the lower aquifer, we feel there's some connection. And if there's too much pumping of water below us, does that bring our water down? We just feel there's a need for more analysis, more study, and maybe that can be done with some sort of monitoring. Maybe we come up with a condition where they can grow for a few years. We monitor wells. And by the way, we're working with the county to begin more intense monitoring of wells in the Burns Valley Basin with county water resources. We are extremely concerned about our residential wells and the impact that all of those grows have. Those are the legal grows. There are also a couple of illegal grows in Ogden Canyon, and that's what I've been told. It also shows the 2 vineyards, one on each side of the highway. And actually the vineyard on the west side of the highway has something like 6 wells. I mean, it's hard to go back on them, but going forward, especially in a drought situation, we feel we have to pay more attention. I had no idea where the Burns Valley water basin was or that it even existed until I got into this appeal stuff. So we let 2560 that has been graded, but apparently won't go much farther for the time being. We appealed 2185 and we lost that appeal because we didn't have an expert. Well, now we have an expert, and that's the main reason I want to ask for a continuance. We think the cumulative impact has not been dealt with properly or sufficiently.
Thank you, Mr. Hughes.
And then I'm going to give a map for our next speaker. This map shows the relationship between the project 2560, where the grading was done, Highway 53, and a piece of property at 15650 Denman Road, Hawley. Ingles, the owner, is going to come and speak to you about that.
Hi, my name is Holly Ingles. I'm the property owner for 15650 Denman Road. I've lived in Lake County in Clearlake since 1981. My husband's family has been here since the 1850s. Yes, 1850s. Living off the land is something that we've done for generations. In 2005, we bought my grandparents' property, 15650 Denman Road, which they bought back in the 70s. I can remember as a kid running around in my grandparents' garden and helping them pick vegetables and then canning with my grandmother. We can't do that now. Our yard was once pretty and colorful with a lawn and beautiful flowers. Not anymore. Living on property with the well is all we've known. So conserving water has always been a part of our daily routine. But now we conserve at an extreme level. Only running my dishwasher when it's full, doing a military style shower. That's get in, get wet, suds up, get out. Rinse off, get out, sorry. No washing cars around my house. And like I said, no lawn. And if it's yellow, let it mellow. If it's brown, flush it down. The reason behind all this, the week of October 11th, 2021, the groundwork was underway for the grow at 2560 Highway 53 in Clearlake. On the 13th of that week, I came home from work to no water. Not the kind of thing that anyone wants to come home to. So I shut off the breakers to the well, thinking that all it needed to do was recover. Not the case. All that week, the guys up on the hill were filling their water tenders with a 3-inch line from their well into their water tenders. We're set at 105 feet. They're set at 380 feet. We went without water from the 13th to the 17th. During that time, my husband and I pulled our pump, checked the water level, reset the pump, all by ourselves. The pump companies back then during the summertime months were 2 months booked out. So there was no pump company coming to fix my well or do anything for me. Construction stopped that weekend, thankfully. Then with them not using any water, our well was able to recover. That next Monday, I stopped Dave while he was out on his morning walk and gave him a heated earful as to what we had just been through with all these grows and the water issues. The city, sorry, let me finish this real quick. The city said that we wouldn't be affected by this water usage from the grows, but I can tell you that it does. We've been in this area for a long time, and these are the kind of things that'll drive us out of here. What's going to become of the area when you drive all these families out for these grows that may or may not give the city money if you're lucky? Thank you guys for your time.
Thank you.
And just real quick summation, I mean, she did stop me in my walk. I was walking towards the school bus yard. They were grading, water going all over to keep the dust down. That was a condition. And she asked me if that was a cannabis grow. And I said, yes, aren't you in our community group? And she said, no. And I said, well, make sure you get a hold of Vicky and get yourself in there. It is a cannabis grow. I think when they were pumping the water to fill the tinders and keep the dust down, they were probably pumping more water at one time than they will when they're actually using water for cannabis. But I think what it does is it shows a correlation between that property and her property. And I mean, if you look at the creek, if you look at the lay of the land, and this property is just a little bit upstream. I mean, water flows downhill, and we do feel there's some impact from the grows. Sure, we have a drought, but we think it's exacerbated by the grows, and we need
Thank
to
you, Mr.
get a
Hughes.
handle, and that's again why I would like to see the continuance.
Thank you. Do we have any other further comment from the room?
By the way, a continuance would keep us from having to file another appeal.
I understand.
So-
Thank you. Is there anybody on the phone or on the Zoom room?
We have one hand on Zoom. Deb, Sally, can you unmute yourself and speak?
Are you guys able to hear me? I don't know what's going on.
Put your headphones into it.
Nope.
Try that.
Well, I don't have them over here.
Where are they?
They're on that table over there. I don't know what's going on. I don't know what's going on. I can't get it to unmute, so I can't get it to let me talk.
I can hear
you,
Can
Deb.
can you try turning off your video and then just having it by audio with your name?
Okay.
Or you plug your headphones in.
Deb,
So now can you hear me?
I can hear you, Deb. Can you hear me?
Yes. And let me try. So are you the only one that can hear me, Alan?
I'm going to chat in the room and see.
So can you hear me still, Alan? And the other people,
Yes, I can.
and the other people on Zoom can hear me.
There's something wrong in Chambers. I'm going to try to get hold of Melissa.
Thank you for your patience in the Zoom room. We're working on this in the chambers.
Commissioners, I just wanted to say thank you very much for having me. I got about an hour drive home. I'm going to be back here at 6 a.m. So
Thank you very much for
Thank
your
you.
expertise.
Thank you.
While they're working, trying to get Deb Sally to be able to speak, we did receive a comment via email this morning that I forwarded to you all commissioners. The individual did request it be read aloud. Her name is Cheryl Sullivan. I'll leave that. If you'd like it read aloud, we're more than happy to do so. Or do you find it adequate enough that we've emailed you the comments early mid-morning?
Since we have a moment, that would be very good for you to read it. Thank you for offering.
So I put, this is from Cheryl Sullivan. It says, "Dear Commissioners, in the past years, many of the Burns Valley residents have been concerned about the water levels in our wells. We have spoken or written to the City Council and the Board of Supervisors regarding this issue. As a homeowner in the Burns Valley neighborhood for 37 years, we recently had water shortages for the first time in the past 2 to 3 years. We've run out of water for a number of days, let our lawn and garden die, flushed toilets occasionally, installed a water storage tank, and yet we're still worried about what will happen in the summer with our water supply. I'm writing today to ask you to deny the latest cannabis application at 2250 Ogland Canyon Road. I'm worried about the impact more wells will have on our aquifer and to our water supply." But more than this one grow, I would like to ask you can consider placing a temporary moratorium on all cannabis grows and new vineyards in the Ogland Canyon area. Many growers are relying on outdated hydrology reports. There needs to be a new hydrology study of this area, especially with the recent serious droughts. It needs to show the cumulative effect of all new wells on the aquifer. Until we know how the new wells will affect the aquifer, I ask you to deny the 2250 Ogland Canyon application, as well as placing a temporary moratorium on new cannabis grows and vineyards. Thank you for your consideration, Cheryl Sullivan.
Thank you, Mr. Roberts. We'll check in with the city clerk, see if we made any progress. We'll take a 3-minute recess.
Okay.
What are the hydrology reports?
Yes.
say?
Can you hear us? The question is, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
We've been able to hear you the whole time.
Please
Okay.
identify.
You should be able to hear Deb. You should be able to hear Deb now whenever you're ready to get started.
Thank you.
We will end the recess after our successful technology wizards got us online. So I understand there's a comment from the Zoom room. Will you please identify yourself?
Hi, my name is Deb Sally. I am also a resident of the Burns Valley area, and I can say that we had a similar sort of problem back in 2019 when our well went dry. And we also put in a large water tank to store water and have, tried to reduce our water use as much as possible over the past 5 or 6 years, but especially since that happened. And then I would also just like to say that as far as the hydrology report, one of the things that they have in there is that we're working off of a 25 to 35 inch average water or rainfall per year. And that was, I think, something that was based really on the past. If you looked at and I don't have this stuff with me because I'm actually on vacation, but there was in the hydrology report from the previous, they actually had a table of all the rainfall over the last, 100 years, I think. And I took the past 30 years, and I divided it in half. And in the last 15 years, our average rainfall has decreased by somewhere between 25 and 28% over the previous 15 years. So I'm not sure where this 25 to 30% average was taken over what entire time frame, but I do think that, like everyone has stated before, that we're using old data, not thinking about, what the problems are now and how they could potentially get worse if indeed a lot of this stuff is related to changes in climate that are going to continue to head that direction, and that we should proceed with caution with all of that. The other part is that, they are basing the recharge of our water basin, a very, very good size. I don't remember now exactly the acre feet and have it in front of me, but with one well. And it's a very old well. And there is even some discussion about the function of that well. So I think that it is important, as everyone else has stated, that we get more data, that we take our time with these things. Not that we may not approve of it at some point, but that we really need to have more data before we move forward. I did also notice, I got an email from from Chris, who, I'm sorry, Chris, I thought you were a woman and addressed you improperly there with my reply. But, I think they do want to be good neighbors. And I always hope that that's the case, that, when people bring that sort of stuff forward. But, I think at this point, we just have to be very cautious how we go. And I see that, there are some oak trees being cut on that piece of property too, which, as the chair of the Sierra Club Lake group, we are trying to keep an eye on, watching for not only the carbon sink of those trees, but also of the other value to a watershed. So that's really basically what I have to add to what my other neighbors already told you, which I think was a very good summary of our concerns and the things we would like to have looked at. So thank you again, everyone, for giving us this opportunity and listening to everyone.
Thank you, Ms. Sally. I understand City Manager Alan Flora is in the Zoom room. Do you have any comments?
Thank you, Chair Wilson, Commissioners. I don't think, there's lots of things that I could add, but my preference would be to kind of see what the commission's feelings are and then try to address any questions on process or whatever. There's been a lot of emphasis on, similar projects recently and related to the drought and all that. And there's kind of a lot of anecdotal information that's being shared. The challenge for the commission is to hear that, but your responsibility in adopting a CEQA document is, using verifiable data and trying to confirm if there's going to be a significant impact on the environment. And so, I don't know what else to say other than that, I guess, and I'll just try to participate now in helping the commission with any questions they may have. So sorry about being late. I had another meeting I couldn't miss.
Thank you, Mr. Flora. I would like to take just a temperature check with the commissioners. Is there any appetite for the continuance to the next meeting in May? Just say yes or no. This is an informal poll.
Yes.
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 I would entertain a motion for continuance to the next meeting. And will Mr. Roberts please confirm that date?
So the next planning commission will be May 24th at 6 p.m.
I move to continue this hearing to the May 24th planning commission meeting.
May 24th, yes.
I second that motion.
Is there anybody else?
I have a motion on the floor that's been seconded. Is there any further conversation? Anybody else from the Zoom room or the floor that would like to say anything on this motion? Yes, sir. Please come up and state your name.
My name is Nick Labakis. I live next door to Dr. Sally. I have the same problem she has and all the rest of us. We live right on Road 20. So water is the most important thing we have, and I hate to lose it. That's it.
Thank you, sir. Any comment from the Zoom room on this motion, Mr. Flora?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a clarifying question of the commission. You're interested in continuance. Is there anything that you would like staff to work on and provide additional information? Or is this simply kind of in response to the community's concerns of having more time and their hydrologist to look over the report and provide comments back?
I'll go around the commissioners and ask each one. Chair Coker and Vice Chair Coker.
Yes, I would like to see the association in the Burns Valley area get their hydrology report.
Commissioner Williams.
I would also like to see additional information on hydrology. One of my concerns with this and the previous has really been the cumulative. And I haven't seen any true documentation on the cumulative effects that all of these are having. And I also know that we do have still quite a few illegal grows out in the Burns Valley area. And so the water is a major concern, and I would like to see additional information.
Commissioner Stewart.
Ditto.
And my comment is that I'm interested to know what our options are for getting more data. This will not be the first, is not the first, and won't be the last for us to understand the options for a healthy watershed and a balance with healthy business. So are
Yeah,
there
that
any
helps a
other
little bit. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Flora. Yes, sir, please approach.
I just wanted to ask if the public hearing would be continued, or is that going to be closed? And just your consideration then would be.
So it's my understanding that as far as the process goes, this meeting would continue. It would, you would be able and invited to speak in public again.
Thank you.
So we have a motion on the floor with a second. I'll take a roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Williams,
Aye.
Commissioner Stewart,
Aye.
Vice Chair Coker,
Aye.
Chair Wilson.
Aye. So this project is continued to the May 24th meeting. And we will encourage the Burns Valley Community Association and our applicant to meet with staff and figure out a next step forward with a timeline. Are there any other comments? I will continue on the agenda. Are there any reports from staff or the city manager?
I don't have anything to report. Thank you.
Thank you. Are there any future agenda items that any commissioner would like to request?
I think it would be worthwhile for us to look into putting a temporary moratorium on future developments impacting water levels in the basins while we're in a drought.
So if staff could help us understand what that looks and feels like in terms of process. Not today, at a future meeting.
If I could quickly, we can put an item on to talk about that. So the planning commission doesn't have the authority to do a moratorium. That would have to be done by the city council. But if it was something the commission wanted to do, you could of course request that the council consider that.
Thank you. So Commissioner Stewart, you're asking that to be on a future agenda item?
I am, but I'll address that issue with council members. Thank you.
So it will not be on a planning commission agenda item?
Not at the Not at this time, according to what Mr. Flores is saying, it needs to be addressed through the city hall, through the city council in some sort of a proposal or agenda item there. So I'll just address my concerns to the various city council members and ask that it be placed on city council agenda.
Thank you. Thank you to everyone who took the time to submit their comments and to those who are watching our meeting on Zoom and YouTube. There being no further business of the commission, we are now adjourned at 7:22 p.m. on May 10th, 2022.